Believers, when do you use bait? Let's talk about fishing. Let's say you have an angle and you want to use an angle to fish. Or maybe use a net. That's more effective. You can catch multiple fish with a net. You need to have some bait to attract fish before you capture them. When do you use the bait? Before or after capturing the fish? That's obvious. You use the bait before capturing fish because it's the bait that you need to capture the fish. Without a bait, you don't get the fish. So the bait must be there before you go to the lake or the river or the sea to capture fish. And once you have the fish, you throw your net or you pull up your angle and the fish is captured. It's game over for the fish. What do you do with the bait then? You can throw it away. You don't need it anymore. That's practical, correct? Now, that same method of fishing, let's use it now when it comes to daily life. Online, there are many discussions about love bombing, breadcrumbing, and or future faking, all those methods that narcissists use to lure in their victims. And I also explained that collectively, this is what society is all about. And that brings me to the following, believers. You need to understand that the bait is only needed to lure you in. Once you are trapped, there is no necessity to use the bait anymore. So that is why I told you that you have to beware with smooth success. When things unfold smoothly for you, that's not a sin, that's not a crime, that's not a bad sign in itself. It's not. Things can happen smoothly and easily for you. There's nothing wrong with that. That can be an outworking of the blessing also that's on your life. However, just because things unfold smoothly, that does not mean it's a blessing. Because this is how it goes. Satan knows very well that most people have a short attention span. Satan knows very well that commoners in general just want to flee. So instant gratification is what commoners are after. Rarely will you find commoners who are into delayed gratification. They are into delayed gratification often only when it's necessary, when they have no other option. Just understand that commoners in general, they just want relief, they just want to escape. So to trick someone like that, you need to offer them an instant reward to get their attention. And once they got the instant reward, you now can promise them future rewards that are bigger than the instant gratification they've received. And because they already have instant gratification, they think, you know what? I'm already involved, so why not invest to get more? So that's how Satan does it, and that's how the world leaders do it, and that's how scam artists in general do it. They come with bait, and once you have the bait, they lure you in. Luring in means that you're promised more, or they suggest onto you that you can get better. And because you invest, that's them pulling you in. With a literal fish in the water, you have to pull the net or pull the ankle to get the fish in. When it comes to narcissistic violence, it's you moving towards the predator, thinking you're heading towards something good. Of course, it's a predator that lures you in, but the predator is using your own effort. The predator has to convince you that the grass is greener on the other side. But once you are convinced that the grass isn't green on the other side, you want the greener grass on the other side. And that's why you comply, because you want the greener grass on the other side. What you don't know, or what you don't realize at that point, is that greener grass on the other side does not exist. But because you got some crumbs, or let me say, or you got a handful of dirt with fresh grass that looks greener, you think, where this dirt with fresh green grass, that grass does not look like the grass over here. So it must be from somewhere else. I want to get more of this fresh green grass. They have to give you something that's factual to convince you that what they're suggesting onto you is real. Now, that is why I'm telling you, believers, beware with those pagan churches and their Christian testimonies. Straight up, look, there is a formula I've noticed. I've spoken about this years ago also on YouTube, and I'm repeating it. There's a pattern I've noticed with those pagan churches. They go out handing out flyers or pamphlets, telling people that Christ loves them, Christ died for their sins, and all of that. They do all of this, and then they get people that come to that building, their pagan church, where they have their rituals, and then some people are touched, they come forth, and they are inaugurated in the cult. And that individual ends up going to church every Sunday, and that individual is mentally formed after their expectations. And then that individual begins to do the same thing. So it's a psychological operation. But okay, apart from that, what you notice about those pagan churches is they need some bait to attract people. And the bait they use is smooth success. Now you may say, Rashid, what do you mean those pagan churches offer smooth success? Let me explain. If you were, let's say, if you were the victim of a prostitution ring, for example, you have many people, let's say you're a woman and you were the victim of a prostitution ring. You come from a broken household. So you already have many people in society invested in a low image of you. A lot of people in society get narcissistic supply by having you in a negative state of mind. Correct? That means that those people want to keep you there so they can feel good about themselves because their self-esteem is based on you being low. So anytime you move out of this bad condition, all those people who are invested in it, they will sense it spiritually that things are coming back to them because their tension can't easily flow towards you anymore. So when you're making steps ahead in life, you're going to face opposition. You're going to encounter people that wants to put you back in your so-called place. And even if you got out of it and you want to get a job, people may bring up your past, and because your past is considered shameful, you want to get a job. So if you're from a dark background, a very dark background, you have many obstacles put in front of you. And because worldlings are not about to change anytime soon, those things are kind of permanent. So if you become born again, the only thing you can do is overrule all the opposition against you. And when you do that, there will be retaliation against you. So until Christ returns or until you leave your body, you'll have to manage all the violence against you in a Christ-centered way. That's what Christ said. However, when you look at those pagan churches, what they do is they show you a woman who had a dark past, who also have very disturbing thinking patterns, and then they tell you she went through all of this mess, she made all those bad choices, and look at her today. She came to this church, she gave her life to Christ, and now she has a loving husband, she has 3 beautiful children, she is teaching in a kindergarten, her husband has a well-paying job, they pay taxes, they don't bother anyone, and they're at ease. And they can go on holiday twice a year. What are they showing you? They're showing you bait. They're telling you, if you become part of our congregation, Christ is going to give you smooth success. But to maintain a smooth success, you have to be loyal to this church. Come here every Sunday. And because you are on the cover of this church, you won't be bothered by the violence in the world. So they're offering you an escape that Christ never promised. And this escape is not provided by Christ, it's provided by evil spirits. But they won't tell you that. So you see all those testimonies, and they all have the same pattern. Someone was in very deep darkness, and now they are socially acceptable. Now they match all the expectations of society. But hold on a minute, is it the society itself that caused them to be in that dark situation to begin with? Is the society itself that enabled all those evildoers that also harms them? Is the society that's invested in them being in a negative state? So why is society opposing its victims? Because society depends on victims to work. So if one of those victims recover, society is in danger. So how come you have one of the victims of society recovering, and now society embraces them. Is the recovery of that victim not a threat to society? It is. Unless, unless it's not a real recovery. Unless it's just a bailout. And that's what I'm heading towards. Those pagan churches, they offer you a bailout from difficulty, a bailout from negative consequences, a bailout from persecution. They offer you a bailout. But to maintain this bailout, you have to be in the same location and same routine. So it's bondage that you end up in. So now, understand this. The reason why so many people become members of many of those churches out there is because of the bailout that they get. Let's say now you have two worldlings. One is a churchgoer and the other is just a plain worldling. The plain worldling, let's say they're both black. They live in a racist society. The one black who's just a plain worldling, he is stopped often by the police and he has suffered police brutality several times. The other black, also a guy, when he attends pagan church, when he walks around, he has this demonic layer on his energy field, and this demonic layer repels the violence of police officers. So he can walk around, and none of the race police officers even bother with him. So he's built out. Let's say now you have a black believer. With the black believer who walks by faith, when he walks around, the race police officers begin to flee because their violence is crushed by the believer walking in faith. But the churchgoer only has a bailout. But because the bailout appears to work, because the bailout is so effective, people begin to see the bailout as a blessing. But it's just a bailout. And that's how those pagan churches trick you. They use bait. And look at this. You see all those testimonies of all those people who, quote unquote, came to Christ and now they're built out. Now you want to be a member of that church because you think, hey, I want the build outs too. Because you have things haunting you too. But now you become a member of the church, and now you do have a build out in some areas, but you still have other things that haunt you. So you go to church every Sunday to find out what's going on. And every time you end up with the same answers. You have to overcome sin, you have to work harder, or you have to earn it, or you need to trust God better. To give you all those diverting answers, because here's the thing. They're not serving Christ. It's not anointing there. It's just a demonic will out. You thought it was a blessing. So you ask legitimate questions. Why is this working for me? But here's the thing. If they have to answer you in truth, they have to tell you, we're not really serving Christ. It's just a bailout. And every bailout has side effects. And the only reason many of those churchgoers you saw in those testimonies don't have side effects because those side effects are redirected to the members, you. They're never going to do that. They're never going to expose themselves like that. So they will always give you diverting answers. That is why, believers, we need to examine the context of what we encounter. A bailout is not automatically a blessing. If you walk by faith and you crush violence around you, eventually a lot of evildoers will leave you alone. So you are built out as a result of you overcoming. But a bailout in itself is not a blessing, because you're just relieved from the danger, but the danger is not dealt with. In the anointing, you operate in power, the resurrection power of Christ, and the violence is crushed. So the danger is dealt with. The danger is crushed. In a paranormal bailout or a demonic bailout, you are relieved from the danger that's there. The danger is still there, and once the bubble bursts, the danger overtakes you again. So, a paranormal bailout is a time bomb, because when the bailout doesn't work properly, when the bailout has some how would I say, some disturbance in it, which often happens, the danger can overtake you suddenly. So let's say that the bailout has an expiration date of 2 months. Let's say 60 days. It can be that on the 46th day, there's a little crack in the bailout in the demonic layer on top of your energy field. And because of that, for like 40 seconds, all the negative tensions could overtake you. And let's say that within those 20 seconds, you had a fatal accident and you died. That's how it goes with paranormal charms. That's how it goes with paranormal bailouts. They are not 100% reliable. That's why pagans often take multiple charms just to be sure. And that's why pagans avoid risk factors. They're practical, but they're still in bondage. Because the bailout only works if you're stuck in a cycle. Because the bailout preserves the cycle. So, that is why, believers, don't just call everyone out there who comes in the name of Christ blessed. Don't call everyone out there who comes in the name of Christ brother or sister. Real believers that are still stuck in those pagan churches, they need deliverance from those pagan churches. But I'm telling you, many of those that attend those pagan churches are not born again. They are worldlings with a bailout. Okay, let me give an example to you. Let's say you have sour cream. Yeah, let's say you have sour cream, just sour cream. You eat a lot of it, you get sick because the sour cream is not healthy for you. You can eat it, but it's not healthy. So anytime you take sour cream, there's some effects on your health. Let's say now you have outdated sour cream. So the sour cream it cannot be used anymore because it's outdated. You have all those bacteria and that are growing in it, and you can see that there's moisture coming out of it, so it has been turned into poison. It's still sour cream, but it's outdated sour cream. It has become toxic and poisonous. So let's say you have one pot with toxic, outdated sour cream. You eat it, you go to the hospital, or you may even die. So you shouldn't even touch it. Then you have another pot with just regular sour cream. It's not recommended to eat it, but you can do it, but it's not recommended. And then you have sour cream with vanilla extract in it. The vanilla extract kind of balances the consequences of the sourness of the cream because you have this sweetness in it. So, and the body benefits from the sweetness of the vanilla extract, and the vanilla extract is mixed with the sour cream. So, because of that, this pot with sour cream looks a bit different from the others. And when you taste it, it's sweet. The sourness is still in it, but you won't taste the sourness. But the sourness will have an effect on your body, but because you have the sweetness of the vanilla extract, that kind of hinders the bad effects of the sourness on your body. Those are three pots. The pot with outdated sour cream, that's the reprobate, that's the narcissist. Those are the people that are plain dangerous, period. Any interaction with them will be ruinous. Then you have the pot with the regular sour cream, that's the commoner, that's most people in the world. They're not directly dangerous, but they're stuck in pattern cycles, so they carry toxic weights with them, and that will affect you eventually. And those people can be hacked by evil spirits, and they're just worldly, and they can become dangerous if you're too much involved with them, but that's what they are, worldlings. And then you have the worldling that's built out by pagan churches. So the churchgoer is a worldling that's built out by black magic that uses the Bible as a cover. That's all it is. So you have the reprobate, you have the common sinner, and you have the sinner that's built out by pagan church. The sinner built out by pagan church is the one that's relatively safe to be around for a while. Because remember, it's still sour cream, so the sourness will still harm you, but you have the vanilla extract that mitigates it. But that's all it is. But if you only know plain sour cream and the sour cream with vanilla extract, you're automatically going to say that the sour cream with vanilla extract is better. You won't even realize it's sour cream because you don't taste it directly. But the effects on your body will be the same as if you're eating plain sour cream. Or let's say now you know both the toxic outdated sour cream as well as the plain sour cream and the sour cream with vanilla extract. If you encounter three of them, of course you would go for the sour cream with vanilla extract, thinking you're safer there. Well, your body can last longer with the sour cream with vanilla extract than it would with the other two pots, but eventually it's still the same. It's the same darkness you're involved in. So, pagan church, sour cream with vanilla extract. The vanilla extract is the sweetness of the gospel that they mixed with the pagan BS just to lure people in. But it's not the real milk and honey that Christ provides. It's not the real life in abundance that Christ gives. So, beware what you invest in.